few hours, less than 24 hours, obviously. I've heard from Greg Sankey, heard from Mike Tranghese, which was our commissioner in the Big East, Dan Leibovitz, who I've got tremendous respect for. And I'm sure there'll be others. I'm way behind on messages on that phone, so there might be some more. I think the structure and the power of this conference and the way that they have tried to continue to make this something that has a real strong basketball footprint, I think, in the national landscape. And after spending this year in ESPN, even though I don't call many SEC games, I got a real feel for how powerful this is on a national level. To me, it's not having to come here and seeing those facilities online before ever walking in here. And like I said, as good as the videos are, as good as the pictures are, as good as Tim is, it doesn't even do justice to what you do when you walk out there. And knowing this area, knowing this talent, competing against it, knowing what's in this region, knowing what's in the Atlanta area, certainly, knowing that this is a national school, right? International, right? So there's really no place you can't go, but there is no doubt that you want to start, all right, with given opportunities and looking at how do you keep the best people here. And it's a two-way street, right? Keeping the best people at home is a two-way street. We can also, oh, we want to sign so-and-so, we want to sign this guy, we want to sign that guy. We've got to be able to get them. We've got to keep giving them reasons to want to come. We've got to keep looking at, are they the right fit? But I think there's so much opportunity for that in such a close proximity that you can do that. And you can't be in this business and not and go through what you know about your own school, right? And whether it be Marquette, certainly because it's more present in Indiana, and not know what other schools have. Because part of the recruiting process is what you have not only in basketball, but what you have as a university. So when you're going and you're seeing that, it's very, very important. Heck, I think it was us. Yante may say different, but it was us and Georgia for Yante. And I don't know, Michigan State got in late. There might have been somebody else in there. We had him on a visit. He knew what he wanted. Georgia had it, right? And like that, to me, those type of things, they say something too. So the list goes on, but most importantly, what's not here? What's not here? And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun proving ourselves right on that.
Hi, Coach. Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Constitution.
Hi.
2 questions. I was just, number one, is 27 minutes the average length of your opening statements generally before post?
It better not be. It was at some point. But I had a lot to say.
The other question is...
Is that a good thing? It would be a bad thing on deadline, right?
It would be really bad, yeah.
What would be a good number? Because I had some issues with that.
2.5 minutes, maybe.
2.5 minutes? I got to get all that done in 2.5 minutes? All right. What would be a good time to be in here after the game? I'm dead serious. Because I would go talk to my team, do my radio show. What would be a good time? Don't give me a hard line.
I'll let you talk to the beat guys about that.
Okay, all right. Did I bore you inside the 27 minutes?
No,
okay, good.
I was ready to run through all.
At least I didn't lose you, right?
No, you definitely didn't.
Its concentration span for all of us average humans is 8 seconds. So, proven study. I wasn't worried about that today, though.
The other question is, during your off year, I saw where you went on an info-seeking tour. I don't know what you would call it, but just from what you learned about that, how do you think that'll make you a better coach moving forward?
So much. I mean, I think, let me give you this before it ever got in there. Right after this happened to us a year ago, within 5 days, I'd heard from 8 or 9 of my first team at Marquette, the first 12 guys. And I hadn't coached those guys in 18 years. So right away, when you start to, you realize the most important part is those relationships that you build. I mean, the kids I hadn't seen in years, right? And they're reaching out because when you build something and when you're together on something, it really doesn't leave you if you try to maintain it and it was real. And so that part of it, and what I was able to see as I went through different places, was that is real at the other levels too. I know it's business in pro sports. I know people come and go, but excellence is absolutely something that has got to be from top to bottom. So, examples, being in a coaches meeting or being in a draft meeting, there were no weak links in those meetings. There was nobody that was coming in unprepared. I mean, literally, the ones I was in, they were prepared. Doug could probably speak to that more, being with the Falcons, but it didn't matter if you were the assistant quality control coach, it didn't matter if you were the assistant strength coach. If you were in there and you were in that meeting, you were listened to, you were respected, and nobody wanted to filter what you had to say. And I think I can do an even better job of training the entire staff in that operation of preparation for what everybody needs. And at the same time, having some of your older coaches, because the younger coaches, the graduate managers and things like that were as a lifeline for us, for our program. So helping them. I think I learned more about even more detail and what detail and level of detail goes into the great player, and how the great player has got a mindset, a killer instinct, so to speak, that they want to continue to compete at that level, and they expect everybody that can do something about it to do the same thing. And the great ones are not afraid to bring that out, that it's okay to be demanding, that some of the greatest, highest paid athletes that I've come across in the world, when it's in the meeting room of a training camp or when it's behind the scenes in an early morning workout, it is all about getting better. And I think that's some of it. But I've learned I started to learn this even more, but I think I've learned this more than ever now. You know, control what you can control. You can control sometimes more than you think, but you don't have to control everything. And keep helping people see what you see, but also see what they see. And I think that's been some of the biggest stuff. But bottom line, it's not an accident why great programs win. And I think one thing I really took from ESPN, because there's a place that's going through a difference. We had a big major meeting there, I think it was in November, and John Skipper spoke at it. It was like, I mean, it was unbelievable. He might not have talked 27 minutes, but I could remember all of it. Like, it was strong. And 5 days later, he resigned, he retired. So you had a company that now didn't have their main leader there, but I can't tell you there was one day. He must have done such a good job with the people that he brought in there, that it didn't matter if it was a small group, it didn't matter if it was a different production team, it didn't matter if it was a game. Those people were on top of it, top to bottom. And I think that's the thing to me, top to bottom, no matter what, you're trying to help each other succeed. And your ego better be team-centered as much as it is anything else, because the other way stands out like a sore thumb in the greatest organizations. I won't go 27 minutes. Probably not. Maybe once. Good.
Yeah, Colin Hughley, the Red Black. Tom, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second of all, considering everything that's going on in college basketball with the FBI stuff, how much more attractive was this job by every indication things were done the right way? There's no dark cloud looming over the program. How much of an impact did that have on your evaluation of Georgia?
It was never even a thought, to be honest with you, because Georgia was never even somebody that even considered being in that. So, really wasn't. I never really thought about that, because it's a good question, but it was never a factor with us. It's very strong here, and I don't think there's any question about the integrity of the way this program was run for years, no doubt.
Tom, Seth Emerson, AJC. Whenever you come somewhere, I guess there's the blend of, do you want to win right away, but do you want to establish something and maybe take some short-term hits, maybe the long-term program. What do you see with what you inherit and the ability to hit the ground running, and that, do you feel like there might be some short-term hits to implement anything long-term?
That's hard to tell yet. The short-term thing is hard to tell. I don't know that yet, but there is no question that there is talent and there is versatility, and there's a lot of youth inside of this program. They defend. They know how to run offense. They move the ball. I mean, come on, they've been well coached. I mean, I could go right on down the line. There's no doubt about that. And I think getting to know them and seeing where that versatility can go, seeing where the level of them taking that next step, because there's so much youth, continuing to build the skills, continuing to build the outside shooting, continuing to build the strength, the conditioning, those aspects of it. And then I think the real assessment, okay, what do we need for now? Because obviously there's a lot of players here. We'll see how it all plays out. But the bottom line is, when we sit down and start working, I mean, that's the guys, right? And they won't maybe know that or accept that right off the bat, but they'll get it. I've been down that road. I'm not worried about that. But bottom line is, let's assess every day where we're at. I'm not one of those coaches that say, hey, we're going to not look at last year. No, we've already looked at last year because I was watching it all year. And I'm going to do it even more so and really have a real good gauge on where they're at based on what we see, and start trying to put those details in there to help them. But the foundation is here, and we just got to build it up. But I don't have an answer because I've never been with those guys, to see, how hard they work, how they learn this way, do they learn that way, what's the upside, what's their work ethic like. We'll learn all that. We got to learn that together. So I'll have a much better indication on that a few months from now, on that part of it.
Hey Tom, Mark Wise, Athens, Banner Herald. You mentioned recruiting Atlanta and the region. Being that you coached at Indiana and Marquette, a Midwest guy, how much of a challenge do you think that will be, and do you need someone on your staff that knows the area well?
Well, I think knowing the area is going to be important. Yeah, I don't profess to have that. That's why I think the staffing of really looking at what was going to happen, and certainly when you come to Georgia, the geographical footprint of really knowing the landscape is really, really important. We came here a year ago and signed Al Durham, and I believe Georgia recruited him, and loved his father. Al's gone. I think he had a pretty good year. He's got to get stronger and all those type of things. But we came into the city and got him, and so we've definitely recruited it over years. So I'm sure Christian Watford was a pretty good one our first year out of Birmingham, and he turned out pretty well. He just got better and better. He was a guy that went from shooting 32% his first 2 years to shooting 48% from three his last 2 years. So to me, it's the area. It's evaluation is what it is more than anything else. And it's not just having your ability to evaluate, but having a staff's ability to evaluate. And you got to evaluate the process, because in this day and age, if you have to talk and know a lot of people, all right? And information is knowledge. It's absolutely knowledge, and you've got to be able to touch a lot of different realms in that area. You got to know a lot of different people from a lot of different places, and you put it all together, because each recruit in itself is a case study to me. There's no one brush for each recruit. You know, there might be some similarities, maybe twins have some similarities, but they're going to be different, right? And everything else is different, and I think you can't paint a recruit with a broad brush. You got to look at it individually, and that's where having the right staff and evaluation is really important.
Got time for maybe 2 more questions?
Emily Gagnon, CBS 46. Very nice to meet you. I was wondering if, it's no secret, Georgia, it's a football school. That certainly wasn't the case at Marquette or at Indiana. Those
We
were
didn't have any football at
basketball
Marquette.
schools. Exactly, those were
They talked about
basketball
bringing it back, but it was going to cost a lot of money.
Exactly. So, has that crossed your mind at all? I have 2 questions. That's my first one.
Absolutely. It's great. I'm in a football family, and I liked football. To me, I was an assistant at Michigan State, and it was at the time Nick had started at Michigan State. Tom was starting at Michigan State. Ron Mason was the hockey coach, and a Hall of Famer. Those 3 were so intertwined. Ron Mason was the great mentor teacher to Nick and Tom together, but their relationship has remained intact. I learned then, okay, like I was coming from Western Kentucky, where I ended up marrying the coach's daughter, right? So I had that view of it. But I learned then that it was awesome watching those guys work together, being a part of that. And Kirby sent me a heck of a text last night. I know he's on spring break with his family, and it's one of those, like, I'm not deleting that one. It was cool. You know, his wife's already reached out to my wife. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, absolutely looking forward to it. We went through the facility today. I'm like a little kid. I mean, they got the motorbikes, you know, it's like an arcade in there. I mean, that's so cool, right? And I'm excited about football. We worked every day, whether it was Bill Lynch or whether it was Kevin Wilson, to help them every possible way to build their football program. When it came to recruiting, when it came to time spent, so I'm a football fan, and it's going to be the same with all the other sports. I have, you know, the team aspect this year was being a part of the teams, you know, the small teams at ESPN. Not only did I miss my team, I missed being a part of the athletic team. I missed the recruiting and being with the other coaches, and I missed that, and I'm looking forward to getting it back.
Earlier today, Charles Barkley, he went out on a limb and said that the SEC is the best conference in men's basketball right now. If you take a look at Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida A&M just beat Providence. Those are 5 teams in the SEC that are moving on to the round of 32. What's your thought on where the SEC is right now in men's basketball?
Oh, I've had a lot of time to look at it this year. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. The Big 12 was outstanding too, because I had a skewed view because I was doing more Big 12 games, but I learned a lot from watching the Kansas basketball program. I mean, when you see the way that they would utilize 4 guards, when I say I learned a lot of basketball. And because I'd only competed against Bill once a year ago, but I had more of a vantage point of seeing that, but watching the SEC so much in the studios and watching on my own, there is no doubt. I mean, and nobody should be surprised with what Rick Barnes did. We were both in the same Final Four in 2003. Bruce is an outstanding coach. He was at Milwaukee, I was at Marquette for 7 of our 9 years there. So I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, it's a great region. It's a national brand, so to speak. You know, where you can go anywhere. You can go international, you can go across the country. And there's so much length and defensive ability, and it just makes, but there's a lot of skill. And I think if anything that's really changed over the last couple of years is there's so much more skill in the league. This is not a league that is just full of athletes that are running and jumping and blocking shots and using length. No, there is a ton of skill. They can get to the rim, they can make the next pass. I think more so, and I think that's what keeps it at such a high level when you start talking about the best leagues of the year, which would be the other ones would be the Big 12, the ACC. The SEC is as good as any of them, no doubt.
Charles Odom with the Associated Press. You mentioned that you have not yet spoken with Coach Fox, but you intend to.
Oh, I would like to, yeah, at some point, absolutely.
Obviously, I know you've got a big network of coaching friends. I wonder, did you seek out feedback from any other coach, when you first started looking seriously at Georgia, or maybe for a closer perspective on what they've seen here?
Yes, but nothing glaring. I would definitely I would run a couple jobs by people, but not too much, because the last thing I want to do any of it the last couple of weeks is to be people speaking for me. And I started reading Saturday, on certain things, and all of a sudden, sources close to, well, I hadn't even said that, right? So I was careful with that, but I try to do, especially this year, I do a lot of my own research, but I have a good knowledge of this. But no, I wasn't looking for any dark clouds or anything under a rock, and I certainly didn't find anything. But I mean, just basic, couple coaches here and there, just getting their opinions on certain things. But I mean, when I first took over at Marquette, I'll never forget, there were 3 coaches. One said we'd never have a home court advantage, that we'd never have it there. And a couple said that it's going to be tough to win there. They only come certain times. We started out at 6,700 fans. At the end, 9 years later, we were at 16,453, and we did 29 sellouts. So, I look forward to that, right? There's no predictions on that. I look and say, this arena, it can get to a place that we're going to work. Whether it does or not, we'll find out. But every day to work to make this place something that people want to be at as much as they possibly can. Not just for the bigger games, not just the weekend games, but do everything we can to make it exciting. And so, but other than that, no, there was nobody that gave me anything. John Calipari called last night, so you're coming to the league? I said, I'm coming straight to Rutland. So, he was glowing after his win. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to be in this league. I got a lot of respect for it, and I got a lot of respect for the coaches.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.